Hey guys, Blighty Vintage here. I'm just going to show you the M1928 US Haversack. That was the standard issue during World War II. Now this is going to be more of a review. Don't count me as an expert, but if you do want to get more information, this little book right here is just brilliant. It's by Martin J. Braley. Down at the bottom. You can get it off Amazon or some online retailers there. But just great information about the haversacks and how they worked. So I wanted to get my hands on one, so I did. This is a nice 1942 dated Boyd, which is a great brand. Some of my other manufacturers are Boyd as well. Quite enjoy them. So I was sort of fascinated by this because I watched a lot of late war film, and they were still using this, and I was thinking they'd be using the M1944, the M1945, but I just think it's a supply issues. You just didn't really see them since these were the standard issues. So let's just cover the outside really quick. I'll end up putting it down and sort of go over a little bit more, but obviously you have your eyelets here, you can see. Now that's pretty obvious and standard. What you're going to be hanging there is your entrenching tool. So you can either do the M1910 or the M1943 entrenching tool can be hung there. Late war, you'd see a lot more of the M1943 entrenching tools with the folding head. And then also on the side is where you'd hang the bayonet, but I'll show you that when I get it down. So the one thing I was kind of fascinated by is I didn't understand first how the meat can pouch would attach, and then it becomes blaringly obvious. So there's literally one latch down here. Just gonna do that. So there's just one single latch to hold everything this all the way down, which I kind of found funny because I imagine it would flap up. But I guess once you get your entrenching tool meat can pouch, that's fine. So literally you look underneath and you realize these just string through. So these actually go through the back of your meat can pouch and tuck nicely in here. So the meat can pouch would sit on top of that. I don't have one yet. But I want to show an example of sort of how this would be put together. So right now I actually have a full US shelter dated 1942 packed in here just to see how it would kind of go. You can notice that it's really almost extended to the max. You can't fit a whole ton of stuff in here, but that's a full tent. So that's no joke. The biggest thing that I noticed with this is that, heard about this, is that soldiers hated it. It was impractical, made no sense, too complicated. I'm not gonna lie, once I got my hands on this, I don't really see what the issue would have been in comparison to some of the other bags. Sure, the musette bag is easier, I get it. But this was 3 straps, super simple, and you just pop them open. And this one, since I'm carrying a larger load, isn't looped through, but usually you'd actually be looping through these holes as you go. So what I'll do is once I undo this, I'll take it down and I'll kind of show you. So let's go to the other side here. Now this one obviously has been replaced at some point, so that doesn't want to go. I'll have to lay it down and get the weight off, but that'll at least give you an idea of how that works. And then sort of just to go over the quick setup as well. Actually, I'll do another video about everything else that's attached to probably just make more sense. But yeah, and then I'm just going to show you the front for a second, and do not use mine as a textbook example because it is hardware missing. And right away you'll notice right here, these straps are supposed to be coming down here, and then these straps are supposed to be hooked around more to your back. So it'd actually be more like the M1938 suspenders, where they'd be extended at the front. The other thing to note, the main differences in between the M1910 Haversack and the M1928 are you actually have 2 straps to hook to the back of your belt there. So they go each way versus one just down the middle is the only one that they had in the M1910, as well as the buckles are different, which is shown here. So right here is what the M1928 has. Any World War I version you can identify pretty quick. Right here, those are the M1910s, as well as the meat can pouch had some differences. M1910 was a snap and not one of these pull-through straps. And then if you're not familiar as well, just because I don't have one right now, that is the M1928 meat can pouch. So that's clear with the back of it, how it's strapped through. Pretty obvious sort of once you get your hands on it. Okay, so I'm gonna take it off and then we're gonna take a better look at this. All right, so now that I have it down, it's a little bit easier to lay out and explain. So I've attached mine to Grand Belt. This one's dated 1942. Easy to tell, kind of wartime, usually just because of the snaps, the retaining snaps for the charger clips, as well as I have a M1910 carrier with World War I dated 1918 M1910 canteen. I do that mainly because you watch a lot of footage all the way through the war, and I just see so many of these. If you see it in black and white, you can notice that they're a little bit more shiny. As well as I have the M19, I want to say it's an M1924. I've not been able to compare it with an M1942 to see the size of it. Somebody's just sort of stuffed a bandage in there, because the M1942 was a little bit larger. But anyways, let's get sort of back to the basics of the Haversack. Like I said, this is more of a review than it is a technical instruction. So this is more my first experience with it. So like I had in the last video, or at the start of the video, you take these off here, where the retaining straps come out. And again, the only reason that one isn't through is just the load was a little bit lower. You can really push the load out a lot more, and as well as once I get one, I'll maybe do another video about the tail pack and how that goes in. And that just really extends your backpack much further. That way you could fit a full shelter half, blankets, really anything you want in here. And that is kind of why I want to do this video, is I want to talk about the versatility of this. So there's my shelter rolled up. Probably not standard, so don't judge me on that. I just want to see how it works. So I take that apart. So when you look at it, from an untrained eye, you would be fucking confused, for sure. But the one thing I would say is just the versatility of this. I've originally started collecting British webbing, as well as even have some French bags up there at the top. And they all kind of are just one standard shape and size with places to put everything. Now here, what I like about it is it's versatile. Really, if you didn't do up the center strap and you had something out here, you can have something going crossways across like this very easily. Now, standard, you wouldn't really do this, but you know what I mean? If you really wanted to, you could fit a shovel in that way. It obviously wouldn't be pretty, but you can make it work. So I'm just surprised that it wasn't at all, at least from what I've heard, not a favorite of the soldiers at all, just because it's super versatile. It can really go any shape you want, especially with the tail pack. And then the meat can is on the outside, which is another important function. All the British webbing, it's on the inside. Again, they also had carriers that they would carry on their hip. But there's really, I thought it was a pretty decent bag for the age, especially after comparing to some of my other ones that were actually, I think, more complicated to put together. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Nothing too complicated here. Of course, the color, it's faded, so I can't really tell if that's an olive drab 7 green, or if that's more of a, was it khaki at one point. But they did make them in khaki, which would be the OD3, or I've seen it called an OD9 as well. That's more of the mustard, tan, sand, khaki, whatever you want to call it. More of a color like that, which is more the British. But then they went, obviously later war, they went to the green, which would be called OD number 7. Also, sometimes you just have the OD number 7 piping along the edges, and then the rest would be khaki. But yeah, this was the standard in World War II for the American troops. Army, I think the U.S. Marines used them like really early on in the war before they got the pattern 1941, which I'll do a video on. Yeah, but I just want to do a good overview. So I think the only things to really look for when you're buying one is make sure it's got these straps, 3 cross straps. If you get a tail pack carrier, it needs a leather kind of piece to integrate it. The one loop here, which honestly, this is my only complaint. I guess it's super accessible, but only having one loop to hold everything together underneath, that was just kind of surprising. And honestly, I think the things they could have improved on is making these straps even longer, and you could fit even a larger load in here would be great. And then, like I said, my as you can see, some of the front cross strap is cut off. I actually am happy that mine has that because I'm 6'3" with a really tall frame. So what that ends up doing is I don't think that would have even reached if it was attached. I don't think it would have reached down to the belt. I don't think I would have been able to extend that far. And then to show you a little bit more, sorry, about the eyelets. Entrenching tool eyelet, bayonet eyelet, and if you're new to all this stuff, you just put the hooks through the back. It's very easy to want to put it through the front first, but they go through the back and then over. And then obviously to hold the bayonet there. The only thing I'm surprised about is you cannot fit a machete in there if you wanted to. You'd sort of just have to hang it. And I guess the other thing to point out on the back of the bag, which I guess I should have flipped this over, but it'll also give you an idea, is these little D-rings here are really helpful because honestly, if you disconnect this here and attach to the D-rings, you have a standalone backpack. All right, so just to finish off here, I just want to show you more of the backpack conversion. Honestly, this is just me doing this. Hooking onto the D-ring. These things you're gonna have to shorten up. Probably better just to hook it on. And same thing. Again, you can see mine have been cut, so don't take it as an example. Basically imagine these attached, and that would be at the front. Boyd 1942. Again, the only other downside I can see about this bag is you have a lot open to the elements. They say if it's packed properly and tightly, it can even be fully waterproof or even used as a flotation device. I don't think that's true, but that's what they say in some of the manuals. Yeah, so that's basically it. So I just want to give you the lowdown of the M1928 for anybody that's researching them or looking to purchase one. Again, this is more of a beginner review. Do not take me as an expert on all things M1928 Haversack. Yeah, so hopefully that should just give you a little bit more knowledge.